If your gums bleed when you brush, that's not normal. It's not something to ignore and wait out, and it's not something that fixes itself on its own. Here's what almost nobody talks about. The thing most people reach for right after their mouthwash might be the exact reason it never fully gets better. I'm going to show you a 3-ingredient rinse that works on the actual chemistry of your mouth, not just the surface symptoms. You probably have all 3 in your kitchen right now. I'll walk you through exactly what each one does at the biological level, how to make it in under 60 seconds. And here's the part most people skip. The one timing mistake that cancels all the results, even when you're using it perfectly. Stay with me on ingredient 3 specifically. The research behind it is the most surprising thing in this entire video, and it genuinely challenged what I thought I knew about natural oral care. Let's start with what you're actually fighting. Inside your mouth right now, there are hundreds of bacterial species. Most are harmless, but one called Streptococcus mutans is the primary driver of everything you're trying to prevent. Every time you eat, even something small, this organism begins converting food particles into lactic acid within minutes of your last bite. You don't feel it, but it's already happening. And that acid has one target: your enamel. Your enamel is the hardest substance your body makes, harder than bone, but it has a critical threshold. And when the pH inside your mouth drops below 5.5, enamel starts to dissolve, not dramatically, not all at once, mineral by mineral, over months and years. Dentists call it the acid challenge, and every single time you eat or drink, that challenge begins again. If you're snacking throughout the day, your mouth might be spending more time in the danger zone than recovering from it. That's why you can brush perfectly twice a day and still develop cavities. Brushing handles debris. It doesn't restore the chemistry. Gingivitis follows the same root cause. The same acid-producing bacteria form a sticky, organized film on your teeth and along the gum line. That's plaque. When plaque sits against gum tissue day after day, your immune system responds with inflammation. The gums swell, redden, bleed at the slightest pressure. Early stage, completely reversible. Left alone, it reaches the bone anchoring your teeth, and treatment becomes far harder. So what you're actually fighting has 3 components: bacterial load, acidity, and inflammation. And now about that mouthwash. Most commercial mouthwashes do kill bacteria. Some do it reasonably well, but here's what the label won't tell you. The majority are formulated at an acidic pH. So while they reduce bacterial count, they don't restore the chemical balance your enamel depends on, and most contain alcohol, which dries out oral tissue. Here's why that matters. Saliva is your mouth's primary natural defense. It contains bicarbonate that neutralizes acid. It washes away food particles. It carries the minerals your enamel needs to repair itself. When alcohol reduces saliva, you're dismantling that entire defense system. You're fighting bacteria with one hand and eliminating your own defenses with the other. That's why the bleeding doesn't stop. The rinse you're about to learn doesn't have that problem. Before the recipe, one thing you need to understand: pH. pH measures acidity or alkalinity on a scale from 0 to 14. 7 is neutral. A healthy resting mouth sits between 6.2 and 7.6. Below 5.5, minus enamel dissolves. Above that threshold, something else happens entirely. Above 5.5, calcium and phosphate ions can redeposit onto tooth surfaces. That process is called remineralization, and it's your enamel actually repairing itself. It only happens in the right chemical environment. This is why restoring your oral pH isn't just comfort. It's switching your mouth from a state of decay into a state of repair. That's the framework. Here's what creates it. The first ingredient is baking soda. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, a mild alkaline compound. When it contacts acid, it neutralizes it. Inside your mouth, that reaction directly counteracts the lactic acid produced by Streptococcus mutans. Multiple peer-reviewed studies have confirmed that sodium bicarbonate rinses raise salivary pH measurably and consistently. Less acid means a less hospitable environment for the bacteria producing it, because those bacteria are most effective in acidic conditions. Raise the pH and you strip away their competitive advantage. But baking soda does something beyond neutralizing acid. It physically disrupts bacterial biofilm, the organized, structured layer of plaque that makes bacteria so difficult to remove. Studies comparing baking soda dental products to alternatives have documented significantly greater plaque reduction with consistent use. It works on the biofilm structure, not just the bacteria floating loosely in your mouth. And the third mechanism, one most people never hear about, a higher pH, is the exact environment where enamel can remineralize. Your saliva is already trying to repair your enamel constantly. Baking soda creates the chemical conditions that let that repair actually happen. 1/4 teaspoon. That's all it takes to shift the chemistry. But baking soda only handles half the problem. The second ingredient operates through a completely different mechanism, and it's the one dentists actually prescribe after oral surgery. Salt. Saltwater rinses aren't folk medicine. They're standard post-operative care following tooth extractions, gum treatments, and oral surgery. The reason is precise. First, osmosis. Salt draws water out of bacterial cells through their membranes. When bacteria lose water rapidly, their membrane integrity breaks down, and they can no longer reproduce effectively. This is especially damaging to the biofilm-forming bacteria responsible for gingivitis. Clinical studies comparing saltwater rinses to controls have documented meaningful reductions in gum inflammation after consistent daily use. Second, salt briefly alkalizes the oral environment, reinforcing what the baking soda is already doing through a separate mechanism. Third, this is why salt is so specifically valuable for gum tissue. It has a direct anti-inflammatory effect. A warm saltwater rinse reduces swelling and promotes healing in the tissue itself. This is why tenderness after a dental procedure eases quickly after a saltwater rinse. It's not placebo. It's a direct biological response. The salt disrupts inflammatory signaling within the tissue. Fourth, increased local circulation. More blood flow means more immune cells and healing factors reaching the areas that need them most. Concentration matters. 1/2 teaspoon per 8 ounces of water stays roughly isotonic with your body's own fluids. That's why it feels gentle rather than harsh. More salt than this irritates rather than heals. Don't increase it. Now, ingredient 3, the one I mentioned at the start. Here's why it surprised me. Peppermint essential oil, 2 to 3 drops, food grade. Most people hear peppermint oil and think flavoring or that familiar cooling sensation. Both are true, but its active compound, menthol, has demonstrated inhibitory effects against oral pathogens in multiple research settings, including Streptococcus mutans and Candida albicans, a fungal organism associated with oral imbalance. And then some comparative research found peppermint oil rinse producing antibacterial effects against key oral pathogens at levels that compared favorably to chlorhexidine. If you don't know what chlorhexidine is, it's the pharmaceutical benchmark for antimicrobial oral rinses, the one dentists actually prescribed for serious gum disease, and a compound sitting in a bottle on a grocery shelf was doing comparable work against the same organisms. That's what I didn't expect. Chlorhexidine, for reference, stains teeth, disrupts taste perception, and can't be used long-term. Peppermint oil has none of those downsides. Beyond its antimicrobial action, peppermint oil inhibits prostaglandin production. Prostaglandins are the signaling molecules that initiate and sustain inflammation in tissue. So it supports gum health through 2 completely separate pathways, reducing the microbial load that triggers inflammation and directly dampening the inflammatory response itself. And practically, it makes this rinse taste genuinely good. That matters more than it might seem. The most important factor in any oral care routine isn't the science behind it. It's whether you actually do it. Every night, without skipping, a rinse that tastes like medicine gets used twice and then forgotten. A rinse you actually look forward to gets used consistently. And consistency is what produces results over weeks and months. 2 to 3 drops. Food grade label. That's the effective and safe dose. More doesn't help. It can irritate rather than soothe and turn something therapeutic into something uncomfortable. Here's the full recipe. 60 seconds, start to finish. 8 ounces of warm water, warm, not hot. Very hot water slightly alters baking soda's buffering behavior and it's uncomfortable to swish. A quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Half a teaspoon of fine sea salt or regular table salt. Fine so it dissolves completely, with no grains left sitting at the bottom. 2 to 3 drops of food-grade peppermint essential oil. Add the baking soda and salt to the warm water first. Stir for 15 seconds until both are fully dissolved. Add the peppermint oil. Give it one more gentle stir and use it immediately. This is not something you make in a batch and store. Baking soda's buffering action is strongest fresh. Essential oil settles out of solution over time. One serving, made fresh, every use. Take a full, comfortable mouthful and swish actively for 60 to 90 seconds. Work it between your teeth. Run it along the gum line. Bring it to the back molars. Move it around your tongue, everywhere bacteria accumulate, not just the front surfaces. Then spit. Now here's the mistake. The one that cancels everything you just did. Most people rinse with water right after. Don't. That single step removes the thin alkaline film left on your teeth and gums from the baking soda and salt. The residue that continues adjusting your oral pH for several minutes after you spit. A quick water rinse flushes it away before it finishes. Working. You spend 60 seconds building a protective chemical environment inside your mouth, and a 2-second water rinse undoes most of it. Spit, don't rinse. Let it sit. The best time to use this is immediately after brushing and flossing, the very last step of your nighttime routine. Here's specifically why nighttime matters. Saliva production drops dramatically during sleep. Your mouth's natural defenses, the bicarbonate buffering, the mineral support, the mechanical washing are at their lowest overnight. Going to bed with elevated oral pH and a reduced bacterial load puts you in the best position during those hours when you have no active protection at all. You can also use it in the morning before breakfast or immediately after acidic foods and drinks. Coffee, citrus, wine, soda. Here's what consistent use actually looks like over time. In the first week, most people notice 2 things: fresher breath that lasts noticeably longer into the day, and a cleaner feeling in the mouth that persists well past the morning brush. Both of these reflect the bacterial environment already beginning to shift when the population of acid-producing bacteria drops and oral pH stays higher. The volatile compounds that cause bad breath diminish and stay diminished longer between uses. Between 2 and 4 weeks in, people with mild gingivitis typically notice a meaningful reduction in bleeding when brushing. A tissue that was slightly swollen begins to firm up and look healthier. This tracks directly with what the clinical literature shows. Studies on saltwater and baking soda formulations consistently document measurable gingival improvement over approximately 30 days of daily use. Over months, a mouth that's chemically resistant to decay. This rinse will not reverse a cavity that has already formed. Once enamel is lost, that loss requires professional treatment. But early-stage enamel weakening, where minerals are leaving the surface before a visible lesion appears, can be slowed and potentially arrested when acid exposure is consistently reduced and remineralization is actively supported. This rinse contributes to both of those conditions at the same time. One essential point. This works best alongside not instead of brushing twice daily, flossing, and maintaining regular dental visits. If you have active gum disease beyond mild gingivitis, or haven't seen a dentist in over a year, professional care comes first. This rinse complements your dentist. It doesn't replace them. 2 habits will amplify what this rinse does, and one of them surprises almost everyone. The first is snacking frequency. Every time you eat anything, even something small, you trigger a fresh acid challenge, and your oral pH drops. If we're constantly grazing between meals, your mouth stays in continuous acid mode, with no recovery window. 3 or 4 distinct meals with no eating in between gives your pH time to fully restore between each challenge. This single dietary change may be the most impactful thing most people can do for their teeth beyond brushing, and almost no one talks about it. The second, wait at least 30 minutes after drinking coffee, citrus, or soda before brushing your teeth. Acid temporarily softens enamel's surface. Brushing immediately after an acid exposure doesn't clean the damage it physically abrades the softened surface layer. Rinsing with plain water right away is fine. and actually helpful. Brushing should wait. Third, finish meals with hard cheese when you can. The calcium and phosphate in cheese directly support post-meal pH recovery and provide minerals that support enamel remineralization. This has genuine research behind it, not just dental tradition. Your mouth is an ecosystem, and like any ecosystem, it functions best when conditions are stable, when pH holds in a healthy range, when gum tissue isn't managing low-grade inflammation. It was never designed to sustain indefinitely. When the bacterial balance tips toward health instead of destruction, this 3-ingredient rinse addresses the root chemistry of that ecosystem, not the symptoms, the conditions that create them. Baking soda neutralizes the acid and opens the window for enamel to repair itself. Salt creates an environment hostile to the bacteria driving gingivitis and directly calms gum tissue at the inflammatory signaling level. Peppermint oil adds targeted antimicrobial power comparable to pharmaceutical benchmarks and makes this something you'll actually reach for every night without thinking about it. Total cost, a few dollars, shared across hundreds of uses. Time to prepare, 60 seconds, and the effects build with every consistent use. Start tonight, give it 4 weeks. Your gums will tell you the difference before your dentist does. If this was useful, we publish a new video every week built exactly like this. Mechanism first, research-backed, no filler. There's a video on oil pulling and remineralization in the cards right now. It connects directly to what we covered here and adds another layer to this protocol that changes how you think about your oral health entirely. I'll see you there.